Hola amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde podcast. I am your host, Matthew Human, here at Finca Vida Verde, as always, with my little cute cat, Kriya. And it's a beautiful day, and our guest today is my buddy, Austin Morrison. Austin is a professional drummer. He is an amazing mixologist, mixing up some great drinks. He's the founder of Elegant Concrete Polishing, a concrete polishing company based in New Haven, Connecticut. And he is also a devoted father and husband. They just bought some land up in Desmonte near the Minas del Aguacate, right up the road from here. I'm looking forward to chatting with him. It's going to be a great conversation. We hope you enjoy. Austin Morrison, welcome to La Vida Verde podcast, my brother.
Thank you.
Okay, this has been quite the day. We've been up and down the road a few times already just to make this happen. So thank you for your patience.
Absolutely.
Guys, they're fixing our road. It's very exciting. We were stuck
good.
behind this this little tiny thing that like breaks up rocks, and it's just making my heart happy. I'm glad you got to be there with me for that.
Definitely.
So let's talk a little bit. So I know you because you came and drummed and jammed, and we've been jamming a little bit, playing some music. You also came and bartended a party that we did. Amazing, by the way. What were those drinks? The ones with the egg?
Yeah, it was egg white, tequila, pineapple juice, lime, some agave.
So
yeah,
good.
It was good.
What did you call it?
I think Anton.
Oh, Anton.
Yeah,
Ambrosia.
The ambrosia.
Something ambrosia.
Something ambrosia.
Yeah, those were good.
Yeah,
Man,
they were
okay.
tasty.
Okay, I got to see your. I want you to bartend everything I ever do from now on. That was so good. And so yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit. I know you have a really interesting history. You told me originally that you were in a Christian rock band, which you're no longer on that same path, but still adjacent to the path of spirit.
Yes.
But I kind of want to just start at the beginning and say, like, okay, where did you grow up, and how did you get to that point? Where'd you grow up? Yo, everybody, what's happening? This is Humano. Guys, thank you, everybody who's been watching this podcast. I want to invite you to join our Patreon, patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast. We are looking for ways to build our community. We have a lot of great content on there, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It helps fund this program so we can keep having great guests, great conversations. Go check it out, patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast. Pura vida.
I mean, my dad was in radio, so was born in California.
What kind of radio?
News. News anchor for the radio, yeah.
Okay.
So
in LA.
In LA, that's where I was born, and then New York City, and then Dallas, that's where he's from.
Wow.
And then back to New York, then back to Dallas, all before I was like 7. and then my parents split. And so yeah, then, my dad remarried, grew up in Dallas pretty much my whole life.
Oh, you grew up in Dallas?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So my dad remarried, and that's kind of where the church came. Before that, my parents weren't spiritual.
Religious
didn't go to church, any of that stuff. So my stepmom really had a big impact, positive impact on me. And part of that was going to church. But I mean, in Texas, in the South, it's like the people you're partying with on Friday, you're with them in church on Sunday morning.
Right.
So it's just like part of the culture.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, graduated high school, did some community college, but, I moved out of my house after high school as quickly as I could. But I was like selling ecstasy, selling coke,
Whoa.
Like
in high school?
No, post high school.
Okay.
Living in an apartment with some friends. Just, we were like mid-90s kids, just apathetic and just wanted to party and didn't have a lot of life ambition.
You're like a few years older than me, I think.
Yeah,
I'm 40, I'm 44.
Okay, at 48.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in that same 90s thing, and
Yeah.
it was kind of an interesting time. Like, it wasn't the internet, like cell phones were just a new thing, and
Yeah.
like
I had a
the
pager.
pagers, exactly.
That
It
was
was
like the
like
big thing.
there wasn't really like Google and
Oh,
shit.
no.
That stuff didn't really
No, I
happen.
mean, AOL chat rooms were like becoming popular, but it took forever to get like on the internet.
So many stories about
Yeah.
AOL chat rooms.
Oh my God. I almost got my friend's mom kicked off of one because I was being an idiot. But,
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
When you're 15 and you're like first time like, whoa, this is really
like
weird.
I'm chatting with someone in Russia right now. Yes, like
That the kids today will never understand.
oh, I
what that
know.
was like.
We are kind of the last generation where
Yeah.
where we had a time
Analog.
pre-internet, smartphones, all that stuff. I mean, I talk to my kids about that all the time, but yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm actually glad that we had that experience. Like,
Oh, me too.
personally, like I mean, it's different. It's interesting to try and relate to kids now because they're like, yeah, you have. So wait, yeah, you have 3 kids, right?
Three pretty. I mean,
Adults
I
now.
say adult. Yeah, 19, 21, and 22. So 3 sons.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were bartending with you.
Yeah, 2 of them were. Yeah.
And they're also musicians.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you watch them grow up in a totally different generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's funny. I mean, they love grunge music. They love the 90s. They like, it's really funny just to see the crossover of kind of where my childhood has come back into like their childhood experience.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so did you raise them in the church?
Yeah. I mean, when they were born,
'Cause you went deep into it.
Yeah.
You went like you found
well,
Jesus, right?
I mean,
Tell us about that.
So when I left Dallas in 95, I went to a Christian missions organization, like training school, which really was like, I got evicted out of my apartment. I wrecked my friend's car. Like, I racked up this debt, and my stepmom was like, hey, you should consider this place. I'm like, no. But as I thought about it and was looking at my life, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything with my life. I'm not going to college. I dropped out of college, so I'm just like working at Chili's, and I'm like, what am I doing, So I'm like, let's
a celebration of food.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. I'm like, maybe I'll end up in Hawaii. I can get some really good weed or something. And so I end up at this ranch out in East Texas, like 80 miles east of Dallas. And, I grew up in church. I'm like, oh, I can slide back into this kind of vibe again. And, I did have a profound kind of meeting with God and really looking at myself in clear eyes for the first time, no drugs, none of that stuff. And, it was like, okay, I want to like change my life. And this is like the container that held it. Granted, 10 years later, I moved to Connecticut, joined the Christian rock band, got married. And then, we were on the 2-year plan with our kids, and 6 months later, our first son's, coming. So, I was touring in the band at that time, which my poor wife, I would get her pregnant. She would have a kid, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going on tour for 3 or 4 weeks.
And then you come back and
I
get
come
her
back,
pregnant.
get her pregnant. Right. I'm like,
I imagine if you're on tour and you're very faithful Christians, you're not like doing the rock star thing here.
No.
What does it mean to be like, what is the difference between a Christian rock band and a rock, like, a non Christian rock band?
I saw being a part of the missions organization and being in a Christian rock band, I kind of saw the underbelly of like the business of Christian music and the church.
Yeah.
And, it just brought me to a deeper understanding of just humanity in the world. And sure, you can like put hallelujah in the chorus, but it's like some of these guys aren't faithful to their wives, aren't living a life that, Christ would that they would say it was Christian.
Right. Well, they're in in essence, they're hypocrites, really.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
singing about being faithful and
Yeah.
singing about these things, but
Yes.
they're and no, look,
But don't.
I'm a
Yeah.
hypocrite. I'm not judging
Yeah.
them,
Yeah. Same.
but the
Same.
difference is I'm not saying I'm not.
Right. Right. And even in the midst of it, there's some really beautiful people that were really like held to their faith
Yeah.
and held to that belief system,
Sure.
and so a lot of respect. But I mean, the music industry, it's all about making money, and
Yeah.
where we hit at a time like worship music, which is like in church services, usually before the preaching, there's music that people are singing. It used to be hymns. Now it became like rock and roll Jesus worship music with lights
Right.
and smoke and, the whole thing.
Right.
And so, I mean, we found ourselves in that world, yet we intentionally moved to the Northeast. We didn't want to go to Nashville. We didn't want to do the Jesus pep rallies. We wanted to, hey, we're Christians. We're in a band. We want to have music that's meaningful.
You moved there with the band?
Yeah.
Where did the band form?
In Texas. Yeah.
And you moved to Connecticut as a Christian rock band?
Yeah, with a group of 30 other people with hopes of like creating a spiritual community. And,
wow.
And it worked. Like we did it.
That's
at
so
one point we
cool.
had like 100 people there, and it was really beautiful. Yeah. But it fizzled out just like the band, and it was rightful, like you try to fit square pegs in round holes, and it's like, this isn't for me, what church and spirituality is about, is trying to force and trying to like make people follow these doctrines. And so it blew up, and it was really good. Some people got really hurt by it. And I get it, but for me, I'm like, well, hell yeah, good. Like this is evolution. We need to not be stuck in this. So anyway.
That's really interesting. I mean, man. I mean, I was raised Catholic, so my relationship to the church and Jesus is I think it's different. I mean, you're talking
sure.
like Christian,
evangelical yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
People go deep into that. I have some friends who are really deep in it. One of the tenets I know of that, and this is different maybe from Catholicism, is that, I mean, I don't remember ever being told, like, if you don't evangelize, you're going to go to hell. Like, my friends who are like, they tell me, like, I know you believe something different, and if I'm in order for me to save your soul and to save my soul, I have to try and save your soul.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like this. It's kind of brilliant, like the way they got it built. It's like, you will go to hell if you don't push our agenda on other people.
Yeah. I mean, and it's theology and religion. I mean, it's like the stuff you don't talk about, but
no, we're talking about it.
Oh,
we talk about it on this podcast.
Absolutely. So to bring it back around, so we were raising our kids in oh yeah, please. Thank you.
Just been going at it.
We raised our three sons kind of in our sifting and like unmeshing from Christianity, from evangelicalism. So, I mean, we were in it when they were younger, and then they watched us, and we kind of brought them through to where we're at now, which is, we're spiritual people. We have faith, I mean, it's, yeah. And
what was it? Was there a moment or a thing that was like, like that exact path is, you saw that maybe like there was another way than that exact path? Because it is I find evangelicalism to be a very specific path.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, to even get out of it is almost like, it's a lot. Some people just...
We would joke about the missions organization. We call it the Hotel California. It's like you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Right.
And there was a lot of pressure. I faced a lot of pressure when I wanted to leave. Thankfully, it helped me going, hey, I'm doing this band. I'm not leaving the system.
Oh, you stayed in the band?
Stayed in the band and stayed in the missions system. Kind of, that's what moved to Connecticut as well, kind of a subset of that. But then it all fizzled out after, I don't know, 5 or 6 years.
Not because of you?
No. Just like I said, a lot of people had ideas. People wanted to start a church. People wanted to control that church. It's like all this, it just, when humans get involved, with stuff, it just gets messy, you know?
So were you all like younger? Like were they all similar age or?
No, it was a mix. You know, there were some older people, but a lot of young families too. So
Very interesting.
Yeah, you know, it was again, I take it all as like, hey, this is lessons to learn, and just another kind of notch on the belt of like my evolution as a human and as a person, and yeah,
crazy, man. And I mean, I think it's super cool, and I also appreciate your open-mindedness through it. And like, not everyone that's in that world is very open-minded, but it sounds like that was your path. Like,
yeah,
your path, and like, hey, I'll give this a shot. And not only did you give it a shot, you went deep into it. I feel like you, in talking with you, I feel like you extracted the essence of it. Because I talk with you, and it's like I have a similar belief, but the essence of Christianity can be really beautiful.
Yes,
like versus like believing in nothing.
right.
Like there's a beauty to it
For sure.
having that spiritual connection. What was the I mean, when you said like, so were you guys playing like arenas?
I mean, yeah, we did big festivals. And played in front
Christian
of,
festivals.
Yeah, Christian
Not
festivals.
non-Christian festivals.
No,
Nothing.
we were really trying to cross that bridge, but the success, we kind of hit like the middle class. We didn't have huge success. You think of Switchfoot. We played with Switchfoot.
I don't know.
Some people know them. They were a Christian band that crossed over to mainstream.
I went and saw in Nashville one time. I went and saw Chevelle.
Oh yeah.
They were kind of in that realm too, I think.
Yeah. A lot of people were trying to cross over from just being pigeonholed in the Christian thing. We were trying to as well, but it didn't work out. And we made intentional decisions to try and do that didn't work out for us business wise, which I'm thankful for. It sucked. I mean, I quit touring, I quit recording, and I had to like pick up a hammer and learn construction to like feed my family.
Right. Yeah. So you went into tell us about
So first, when the band fizzled out for me, I started doing home remodeling with my wife's brother, which I didn't grow up doing that stuff. So he was like teaching me how to read a tape measure and how to do all of it, and I would cut I would cut the last board that we had of the day, like a 1/2 inch short. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, sorry, man,
Yeah.
But that was like an initiation for me. And just like, all right, like learning something new. And then that led me to the path of, my father-in-law helping start a concrete polishing company that he brought me into, that then a friend of mine in Connecticut, we went in together, bought my father-in-law out, and then for the last 17 years had a concrete polishing company.
Amazing.
Which I left to come here.
Where was that, in Connecticut?
In Connecticut,
right.
Yeah. New Haven, Connecticut was where we were based out of. Pizza capital.
Pizza capital.
It's official now.
Oh, didn't know that.
I just like
you think of New York as the pizza capital.
I like to. I know. That's why I said that. Because I know where you're from.
Yeah. No. I have no. I don't even eat pizza really. I don't eat cheese, so it's like. Anyway.
Fair.
And so you did concrete. So that was a good business, or
I mean,
what does it mean to polish concrete?
So good question. I mean, when we started, no one knew what concrete polishing was. It was popular down south and out west, in the States. And basically you take an existing poured concrete slab or a newly poured concrete slab, and you make it shiny and look pretty.
Okay.
That's kind of the low kind of layman's terms. Big machines, 1,000-pound grinders.
Polishers.
Yeah, grinders and polishers. Using diamond tooling it all came from the natural stone industry, so like marble, granite. The tools used for that, they found, you can use this on concrete. And then it opened up this whole industry that really, I mean, it started 20-something years ago, and we started 17 years ago, so it was just learning as we go. And we had some good success. I mean, we didn't create this massive corporation with all these HR and all the typical things of a business. It was me and my business partner. We had anywhere from 3 to 10 people on the crew, and we had like a bookkeeper. So, it was like a family business. And I mean, man, it taught me a lot, but for a long time, I didn't do music.
You didn't play?
I didn't. I just was focused on building the business and but the last kind of 6 years of my time in Connecticut, a buddy of mine moved back. He lived there, moved to Texas, and moved back to Connecticut, which is rare. A lot of people leave and don't come back. I mean, I didn't even know where Connecticut was growing up. So the fact that I lived there for 24 years and raised my kids there was just kind of like, but so the last 6 years we had a band. We did all original music. And again, none of us were looking to try to make it. It was more, hey,
play local, have fun.
We'd make a couple $100 at a gig, put it in the kitty. Put it in the kitty. Once it got up to like $1,000, $2,000, and we'd go to a nice studio and record our songs. So it was like, kind of, for me anyway, it was the best of playing music, recording, gigging, but not the pressure of like trying to feed my family.
Yeah, you've got your money gig.
Yeah.
This is the reality. Is like people often, I try to explain to people the realities of the music industry.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. Like, there's so much most people just don't understand how it works. And like, they think they have this, because there's all these movies like Almost Famous, and like, oh, you get signed and then you go to a bit, or like a Star is, what's the Stars?
Star is Born.
Star is Born. It's like, dude, that stuff does not happen.
Right.
That's not the way it works.
It's the
or maybe it
rarity.
does, but it's super rare.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really like,
it's a lot of hard work.
How much money are you going to make us? That is the end it all.
Oh, yeah.
Very few people care about talent, messaging. It's like, if you can make us money, we will sign you, and we'll make as much money as we can off you, and then we will spit you right out.
Yep. And that's changed even more with social media now too. It's like, oh, what's your Instagram following? How many followers do you have on Spotify? They look at all these metrics, and it's like, But
you're right about when you were in the Christian thing, that was a niche. And I even thought about going into the Christian thing, because I was like, I mean, dude, those guys are like, I mean, I'm spiritual. People were trying to talk me into it, because I have songs, I talk about Jesus in a couple of my songs even. Yeah. But man, it's like, that's a huge market.
Oh, yeah. Big market. Yeah. It's still thriving.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay,
well, now you're
and my lifetime.
Tell us about your hand.
Okay,
so Austin's hand is.
We had so many nicknames for this, but the favorite one is just calling it the God hand.
The God hand.
Because for me, I quit calling it. Well, for a long time,
Stubby.
I called it chicken cutlet, whale hand. I mean, we had all sorts of names.
So what happened?
Yeah, so. With the concrete polishing line of work I was in, we would mix up like self-level cement toppings. Thank you. To put over concrete slabs. So it was like this big hopper with a shaft and a mixing paddle, and we put like 5 bags of like a sand mix in it and whip it up and put it on the floor. And so I've done this thousands of times. Used this equipment thousands of times. It was being cavalier, sometimes behind the paddle. It's like making cake batter. They would get some dried material, so I put a threaded rod in there to try to break it up, and it got sucked into the paddles, and then sucked my hand in, and then just started gnawing my fingers. It pulled my tendons out. And then this hand, I was trying to, I think, pull it out. This hand got stuck and snapped back the other way. Oh, no. So, I mean, I did a number on myself, man. I really...
You talk about it like you're here. Thank God.
Yeah.
That could have killed you.
I mean, yes, it could have been bad, because that thing, you plug that thing into a wall. Runs on 110 power, but it has such low torque that it just kept going.
It doesn't stop.
No. So
it's like a big fan, basically, that you stick your hand in and you can't get it out.
Yeah. So, I feel like, so my oldest son, Gabriel, had a traumatic ski accident a few years before that, where he like broke his femur, smacked his head. And, I was with him. We were in Vermont. We were skiing. And that was more traumatic for me. I watched it happen. I was the first person to meet him after he he was just bombing down the hill, and he chose to just like throw himself down. Anyway, so that experience for me and for our family, the kind of the trauma and the aftermath of that was a lot. But it prepared me, I feel like, for this. Yes, it sucked. And
This is recent. This was
October of 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Beginning of COVID.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were on a job up at UMass, University of Massachusetts.
In Amherst?
In Amherst, yep. And it happened at night, and they had to like helicopter me to a bigger hospital. And I mean, they did a wonderful job. I eventually went back to Connecticut. Yale, New Haven's there. It's really, thank you.
Sorry.
It's really, the mosquitoes love me. They love me. Where, they took a hunk of my leg, thigh meat, and that's what they grafted on here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, they did an incredible job, all in all.
Oh, yeah, it's hairy.
Yeah.
It's your leg.
Thankfully, I'm not a super hairy guy.
Dude, I just noticed that. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a different piece of skin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so they did an incredible job.
That is so incredible.
And it was a deep teacher for me. I don't call it an accident anymore. I call it my intervention, because where I was at in my life at that time too, in my marriage, just in myself, in my work, I just was like numbed out, just kind of feeling on autopilot, just no clear like vision or energy to like, I'm just rolling. And it really stopped me in my tracks. And I feel like I've had, at least my experience in my life is something hits you, like my parents' divorce. It's like you have a choice, and younger, I didn't really know the choice, but in my adult life, it's like you can get better, you can get bitter, right? People say that. And sure, I could, and the thing is I was with the bitterness of this. I was like, man, I didn't want this to happen. This sucks. Like, first thing out of my mouth when this happened was like, drums, shit.
That's what I was
everyone that heard thought about that. The very first thing was,
you're
like,
a drummer.
Right.
You lost your hand.
Right.
I mean...
But it's also like my livelihood was working with my hands. So,
how did it affect? Did it take a lot to like get back into it?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was probably...
You probably have to hold the stick differently, no?
Well, that was something I was playing around with. So when I first learned drums was in third grade.
Oh,
yeah.
I keep knocking you in the head.
It's fine. I was with my friend's family who was involved in Civil War reenacting, and so that's where I learned like snare drum rudiments, and we would do like fife and drum.
Because you kind of play it like that.
So the traditional grip, but then when I started playing in bands, I went to the standard grip. So I was like, I'm gonna have to switch back, and it just wasn't quite right. So I went with my occupational therapist. I brought my drum pad, my sticks, and she helped me figure out just give me the confidence and gave me a little like a pool noodle, not that size, but like that sort of material that slid down my stick to give me a little bit of beef to grab it. And then I found these silicone gig grips that like go on your stick and like loop around so the stick won't fall off. So I mean, you just adapt, man. Yeah. And it's funny because before this, I was like feeling like, man, I don't feel challenged. Like I need a challenge in my life. And
careful what you ask for.
I got what I asked for.
What's his name? What was the guy from Def Leppard? He was the drummer. He had one arm, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes. I'm thankful. I have my thumb. I have my pinky. I still have my arm.
You don't use special kick triggers or anything?
No.
No. That's what he did. I think he used
that's
trigger.
all he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's a phenomenal story too. I mean, he had it way worse. So.
Yeah.
There's
precedent.
Really grateful. I'm really grateful for, in the end, hey, this happened. I could either, let it slow me down and shut me down, or I can adapt and move on and grow. And that's what I chose to do. And I mean, part of that was the impetus of like bringing me to Costa Rica. I mean, we lived in Connecticut. My wife and I have been married. It'll be 24 years in July.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we lived in Connecticut for 24 years. And
the whole time you lived there.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Raised our kids there, the whole thing, had a business. Like we had a whole life there. And of course, living somewhere that long, it came up over the years like, oh, maybe we'll move somewhere else. Is New Haven the forever place? And then, life would go on, but it came up again. And this time it felt more serious. We were on a walk and I'm just like, babe, I don't know if I have another 20 years in me here, you know? And so this started this kind of search. We were looking at all over the states and nothing really lit us up. And then her sister and brother-in-law heard about Costa Rica and what's going on here. And so we were like,
how'd they find it? Do you know?
I think it was the,
Netflix?
no, it was
90% of the time it's
yeah,
Netflix.
it was this guy's blog.
Eisenstein.
Charles Eisenstein.
We've had Charles on the podcast,
That's right.
He's brilliant,
Yes.
and he has a huge following.
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
they told us through that, and we were like, wow, that sounds crazy enough. Let's do it. You know, I was just really, man. I mean, the way we left, we sold our house. I finally worked out my half of the splitting the business with my business partner, and we're like, all right, we're moving here, and it's been a real big journey of trust. And I mean, for so many years it was like, no, my body makes the money, goes out and does it. And I'm like, I want to try to change that. And sure, I have the luxury of being able to try and dream and try new things. So I'm like, hey,
let's do it.
Let's give it a rip.
So what are you doing here?
I mean, man, I'm here to learn. I'm here to offer, I'd love to do more music. I mean, we've been chatting.
Oh yeah, we're playing more music.
Yeah.
That's happening.
So I mean, that's huge for me. I'd love to have more time to invest in that. I mean, the bartending thing, I mean, that's not something I really did, but I love just creating experiences for people, creating great drinks, and just bringing the party, man. So I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn Spanish. I'm here to learn a new culture. I'm shedding this American life off of my shoulders.
Sorry, Ira Glass.
Yeah.
This is This American Life. I'm Ira Glass.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to get any emails from that.
Maybe from Tori Malatio.
Oh, man.
I'm curious. So that's interesting. I don't know what you mean by this. Yvonne's messaging me advice before accident.
I think I know what he's. So any advice to give? I mean, everyone's story, everyone's makeup, everyone's way that they view and live their lives. When things come into your world, that can be traumatic. I mean, that word is really overused, but I mean, this was a traumatic event. For me, I embracing it, surrendering to it. I mean, that was deep medicine for me. And feeling the feelings, being with the can I cuss on here?
Chef, yeah. Fuck yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, this sucks. I did not want this to happen, but it happened.
Yeah.
And it's here. It's this is my life. So what am I going to do? You know, I can either, wallow in it, or I can move forward. And that was the energy and again, I feel like that experience with my son and kind of his accident. And I mean, we've had some things happen in our family. My wife's brother broke his back. He wasn't supposed to walk.
Wow.
He's walking. You know, I mean, we've had some things happen in the family, different members of the family, the larger family. That you face a challenge and you face something that happened, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
But again, this is my experience. I mean, there's people that have traumatic experiences that don't have access and don't have family, I mean, I was feeling for that too. I'm like, how do you heal? How do you move forward without people around you? You know, that was a big.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was thinking about that. You had your parent, your family, your wife, your kids.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a whole team there to support you.
Yeah.
And young men who were that by that age. Some of them were already adults by then.
Yeah.
And they were all
late
old enough
teens.
To pick up some of the slack.
Exactly.
And I think the way I saw is also another perspective is also whenever you're using really dangerous machinery, be present. I mean, it's just a mindfulness also. I mean, it's not always going to happen that way, but
well, that was the other piece of it. For me, it was like, you did this to yourself. Like I did this, like I stuck it in there. I knew better. The thing was running. So that was an element for me too, of just like, I mean,
acceptance.
Dude, you did this, man. Like there's no victim, there's no blaming, there's no,
why
like,
God?
Yeah. I'm just like, you did this. So, and I think you can unpack deeper reasons of maybe I chose this, maybe I, this was like part of the plan for me to, like, if I wasn't following my soul, like that, I needed an intervention. That's why I call it my intervention, because it really set me on a new path of just, being alive, man, and following what's true for me. And
well, thank you, God, for Austin's intervention, which brought him here to play music with me.
Yeah, man.
Having a great drummer in the Valley is something I've been praying for. So it's a blessing for both of us.
Yeah, man.
I'm excited to do more with you, bro. I'm excited to do more events, and I think it's gonna be a great team.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate you having me on here, and I
thank you.
I'm here to learn. I'm here to bring whatever I can bring. But yeah, man, and I appreciate, this is an avenue for people to get to know me more. So I appreciate
Definitely.
that. Yeah.
And if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do it?
I mean,
just reach out for me.
Yeah. My phone number or email or Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
A Morrison. I was one of the earlier.
A Morrison.
AMorrison.
Yeah. A Morrison.
Yeah.
You were.
I am a Morrison.
You're a Morrison, Jim.
And I am a Morrison.
You are a Morrison. Okay, reach out to Austin if you live locally. Come say hi to this guy. He's a friendly tall guy. Actually, I'm sitting on 2 pillows to match him. Austin, thank you so much, brother, man. Thank you for sharing your heart and for your truth. We look forward to playing more music.
Absolutely. And more parties.
Oh, God, we're so overdue. I'm Matthew Human. This is La Vida Verde podcast. We release episodes every Tuesday. We are here at Finca Vida Verde. I want to say thank you to Ecotis Mate. This is my new gourd and old bombia, but it's new gourd. Ecotis, thank you so much for supporting our show. You can find us on Facebook at Finca Vida Verde, on Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Please, guys, I just lost my job. We need support for this podcast. If you like this podcast, please consider going to the patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast. I want to see this thing keep going. I really enjoy doing this, and I hope you enjoy watching. We will be back next Tuesday with another episode. Thank you so much. Pura vida.
Pura vida.